Well, hi there and welcome back to the channel. So today is floor day, which means we're going to get the floor into the Suzuki Jimny. It gives bad weather later today, so we'll see how far we go, but hopefully we're going to get it fully welded in. If nothing else, it's going to be tacked up, ready to be welded in at a later time. So we'll see how we get on. Here I am with the right hand rear wheel arch, and I've marked it up with some marker pen to show where I'm going to cut and what I'm going to do. So I've had a good long think about this job because I want it to be decent, and I was originally going to, when I put the floor in here, I was going to originally put a 90-degree filler in, so 90 degrees there and then out across to the floor that way. I'm not going to do that because when I've got a 90-degree piece of angle there, I've got to go all the way along, but I've got to bend it around this corner, which isn't going to work very well. And also on this side, it's different on the left hand side, but on this side I've got a kink. The wheel arch bends away to the left on the back end of it there, so trying to bend a piece of right angle to do that is not easy because you've bent it into right angles already. You can notch it and do it, but I think it would look rubbish. So I've decided to make a piece of flat plate to go all the way along and take the place of the rusty part. So where I've put the lines, I've got a top line and a middle line, a bottom line, sorry, and I've hatched the remaining part of it. The hatch part is the part that's coming out. So I'm going to cut that out along this line here, okay, and that'll leave me a clean edge of good steel. Forget about this, I'm doing this separately, but fundamentally this part here takes me right back to clean steel. Cut it up to here, and then what I'm going to put in there is I'm going to put in a piece of steel that basically mimics or replaces the rotten part, okay. And the whole idea is that this is just to hang it onto there, so I've got a sort of like a reference point, so it will come across all the way across here like this, flat top. So, and what I'm going to do with the flat steel is I'm going to put a flange on the top of the steel with this piece of equipment here. So this is a flanging tool. It's pneumatic. It's got an airline connection. And if you can just, if I can get up close there, if you can just see the jaws of that tool, you can see that there's a step in those jaws, okay? And basically what that does is you put your piece of steel in, let me just show on here. You put your piece of steel in the jaws and you press your trigger and it squashes up and basically puts a step in your piece of metal that you're trying to put a flange on. And I'm going to do that all the way along the top of this part here. And then what we're trying to achieve is we're trying to then achieve, if you look at this diagram here, here is the wheel arch coming down. This part, originally the wheel arch came all the way down as one piece. Here is the floor coming along, and there's a return that goes 90 degrees downwards. And there's going to be a gap here, which is the bit we're going to fill in with the piece of steel. And as I put a flange on it, I'm going to kick it so it's got a flange and a step so that it sits up nice and tight against there, nice and tight against the floor, and then I can weld all the way along both bits. And then that will basically be nice and dry. Good join, neat, etc. Also, with the wheel arch coming down on the outside, no water or anything is going to sit in the seam. It's going to drip off and drip down. Yes, water will get thrown up into that seam, I guess. I mean, there's not much we can do about that other than copious amounts of sealer, under seal and such like. But it's better than having this lap on this side so that water doesn't actually sit and then work its way down into the seam. At least here it can drain away. And that may save it for a bit longer, maybe. We'll have to see how we go. But that's the plan. That's what I'm going to do. So, long flat piece of steel, flange it all the way along, weld it to the wheel arch, weld it to the floor, and that should be a good job. good riddance, I think, is all we can say to that. So hopefully you'll be able to see what we're trying to do now. So there's my piece of steel that is cut to shape. I wanted to do it in one whole piece, but I didn't have enough width of material, so I've had to cut an extra piece for the end, just a rectangular part, easily enough welded together. So basically that follows the line that I've drawn there. It's got a lapped edge or a flanged edge so that it sits neatly over the flush over the new edge that I've made, where I've cut the old rotten part away, and hopefully you can see there it's going to sit in there. That'll get welded. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug weld it. I'm going to put some holes in here, and I'm going to plug weld the whole thing that side, and I'm going to plug weld it on the floor on the bottom as well. It's as good as spot welding in this case. It will be strong enough for the body shell. It's all that's required. So yeah, if at the end of the day it's only holding the floor in, I suppose. I've got to shape it around that corner there. Clearly I'm going to cut this out of here and put in a new patch, so I'm going to do that in a moment. I think I've got to make a shape here as well, because that's where the fuel pipes come in. So that's the fuel filler there and the air breather for the fuel tank. If I take it away here, I'll have to cut it away now, but there's a cutout there on this side. It's on the floor as well, so I won't actually weld this in until I put the floor in. So I will line it all up together. But I wanted to get this bit done and out of the way, because it's been bothering me. It's in terms of getting this right, really. And I think I've got the right solution now. So basically extending the wheel arch, new piece of steel in there, another piece on the end, and do that both sides, and that will hold the floor in on the sides. Along the front here we've got the original cross member for the front of the seats, and that will weld through there quite easily, no problem at all. And it welds along the back cross member as well, so that'll be stitch weld across there. There'll be underneath there'll be a new filler piece which goes between the cross member and the floor itself. That fills the gap. You cannot buy that part separately. It comes with the cross member, or it comes with an assembly. The cross member's in two pieces, in two halves, and the front half, this part here, that comes with the extension welded to it. You can't buy the extension. So if you want to make if you want an extension and you want it original, you've got to buy the cross member half. So, and it's 250 quid. So that's up to you. All I need to do is make a flat plate to bridge the gap between the cross member and the floor and give it that strength and rigidity that it needs. And I'll have that from both sides as well. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. I've got both sides lapped. Going to cut off the left-hand side rot out of the wheel arch. Cut holes in there, get those out the way so that I can see the space that I've got to fill up in there. And then yeah, that'll be a good job done. Looking at the ends of the chassis rails, they're in pretty rough condition. I mean, crikey. This is the left-hand one. The top of the rail there is rotten in there. Then you've got the body mounting part there is rotten also. That is an old repair by somebody that decided to patch that. Now looking on the inside, that's where the old chassis rail had rotted away, which is obviously what the repair was for. Looking inside the body mount, we've got the whole of the chassis rail is missing completely just here. That part there should be a webbing in there to strengthen the body mount. You can see there's a hole right through. I mean, it's just awful corrosion. Looking at the one on the other side, this is the right hand side one. Again, holes on the top of the body mount, massive great hole on the side. Looking through from the other side, you can see it's much worse. There should be a web in there, just the same as on the left side. The side of the chassis rail completely rotted away, absolutely terrible. Not quite as bad on this side, but bad enough. So you could see when it was on the car that it was slanting down, and you can see if I flex it, this is what was happening, because the whole bottom of the mounting is basically rotted away. So absolutely terrible. That's what they are, that's what they were, and this is what they look like now. So this is a new chassis end piece that I've fabricated, welded all the way around onto the box section that I made. There's the webbing inside that's missing on the others, welded up inside there. I actually had some U-channel which I've welded together down there, so I made a piece of box on this side as well here. So that's all been welded up. Inside there we have a seam down inside, which is got penetration, so I'm happy with that. And what I've also added in is these two spigots, if you like, which are going to go into the existing chassis on the car. And I've welded down each end of those there, and then when they go into the car, into the chassis rails on the car, I've drilled the rails where I've got some holes where I'm going to weld through and plug weld these in. And also I'm going to drill through this, and I'm going to put a piece of 10mm bar through there and weld it on the outside of the chassis, and that'll give that strength, that piece there. I mean, I'm not going to be towing very much with this, but I don't really want the tow bar to pull this out. So it's belt and braces as much as anything else. So I shall put that into the chassis rail, weld all the way around the box, and then plug weld these on either side on the outside of the chassis rail on the car, and put a bar through, as I say, weld that in as well. That'll give that plenty of strength. It'll also locate it. They're welding at the other end, so that'll be strong as well. And eventually I will cap off this as well, so this will be enclosed. So on the original car, this is all open. The chassis rail is all open, so all manner of rubbish and crap can get down inside there. So I'm going to cap that off. I'll put a drain hole in, and probably a hole in which to put some rust proofing and stuff down inside the chassis rail when it's actually up in the car. So that's that one. And similar for the other side, exactly the same, except I've added in this exhaust mounting as well, so that's been put into. But yeah, again, the webbing there is part of the mount, that's been welded in. Welded it all the way down along the top, and spigots into the chassis rail on the car, and welded on the inside. So I think by comparison, I hope you'll agree, much improved. Yeah, good job. I'm very pleased with those. As far as the tow bar goes, this part here, that is standard Jimny fitment for different types of tow bar, I believe, because the tow bar I have is an original tow bar, because I've found it online as a Suzuki part, but it doesn't use this drop down bracket. It only uses this sort of like U-channel bracket. Okay, so there's a bolt further down which is on a captive plate that bolts the back of the tow bar in on both sides, and then there is these two holes here on this part here. You can probably see it better in that one. Those two holes there, they bolt upwards with two more bolts to hold the other part, the front part of the tow bar on. So it's held in with 6 fixings. So clearly, and they're 12mm fixings, so not very big. So clearly you're not expected to tow 2-3 tons with this thing. But nonetheless, I want it strong. So I've created a couple of U-channels so that you can weld onto the bottom of the rail on new ones on there. But I won't do that until this is all up in and welded in, and then I will position the tow bar onto the captive bolt that is further down, position that up, and then I will know where that this bracket here has got to be welded in for the front part of the tow bar. So yeah, there we go. Quite happy with the result on what I've done with them. These definitely for the scrap bin. Get rid of them, chuck them away. Done everything I need to with those now. and the next thing will be to weld these in.
You can see there we've got the new chassis ends welded in now, so that is a major step forward with this. Just here I've plug welded on both sides, on the other side of the chassis too, and I've also put through a 10mm piece of bar and welded that on both sides, as well as welded all the way around the box section that I've put in. So there's some spigots in there which I showed you when I showed you the rebuilt chassis ends before I put them in. There's some spigots in there, flat plate, plug welded onto there, bar through, welded all the way around, up there nice and square. Yeah, it's a pretty decent job, nice and strong as well, I think, which is good. On the other side I've done the same. This side's painted now, so you can just about see where I've plug welded and put the bar in. I don't know if you can see right down there. No, there's nothing in there. But in there somewhere there is a piece of bar that's going across. So yeah, that's the strengthener for the tow bar. These brackets here, that's a bracket for the tow bar. That's the captive bolt, one on this side as well, captive bolt there, for the drop down bracket for the tow bar. So that's good. There's the exhaust mounting spigot for the little rubber mounting that goes on the exhaust pipe at the back. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Next thing is flooring. And so the floor is finally in and welded, and it's not coming out. So yeah, let me take you around it, show you what I've done, where I'm up to. Been a good day. Finally got to this point. So what we need to see is the floor itself is welded along the front edge through the spot weld holes that I drilled out, and I've also stitch welded it about 5 or 6 places along the front edge there, right above the fuel tank. So it's been a little bit tricky, just in case we dropped a spark and there's a bit of fuel around, but we're still in one piece, so I think I'm okay. Also, we've welded along the back edge. Again, I've put plug welds in and stitched it in a couple of places also, and it is very strong. It's not bowing at all with the cross member in, which is across here. With the cross member in, that is very strong. There's hardly any bow at all, and at the moment I haven't got the sides in, so these sides here are just hanging in there at the minute. But you can see the idea of the side extension to the wheel arch, so cut out all the rot as I showed you before and fabricated those pieces, and then they will weld in on the wheel arch and then down on the inside of the inner wing onto the floor. So that's a job for another day though. I'm very pleased I've got this far. It was the goal for today, and yeah, I'm happy. So as I said, keep persevering, it will get done in the end, and that's where we are. So yeah, it's a good day. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and if you feel motivated and inspired, at least one person, then I've done, it's been a good achievement. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.